Well, we're about to start one of America's great events. Of course, that's Super Bowl weekend.
I'm going to continue to stand with the people that are being oppressed. And there's significant change, and I feel like that flag represents what it's supposed to represent. I'll stand.
I'm Francis Maxwell.
I'm Van Lathan.
And I'm not watching the Super Bowl.
I'm not watching the Super Bowl.
Here's why.
Here's why. This is the first year I haven't watched it. It's much more difficult than I thought it was going to be. I knew who the Saints were before I knew who some of the great black leaders who've shaped my mind are, right? I think that the NFL has exposed itself as a racist cartel, at worst. At best, they've exposed themselves as an organization that would rather be part of the problem than be part of the solution. The NFL did what mainstream America has done to black and brown people for so long. They attempted to silence the message.
The result? Smith and Carlos were suspended from the U.S. team and scorned by the media for being unpatriotic.
If you go in and you just replace Dr. John Carlos or Tommy Smith with the name Colin Kaepernick, you're going to see the exact same rhetoric. You're going to see the same means of vilification, trying to not only silence the message, but deflect, make them seem like they are actually against the country themselves. So when I read this happening in 1968, anytime any racial instance comes up in the country, people claim that you're ripping off the historical Band-Aid, or you are we're living in a post-racial society, and talking about it all the time only brings it up. But they're almost making their point against themselves, because if you're saying you're ripping off a historical Band-Aid, if underneath is a gaping wound, then a Band-Aid's never going to work.
Right.
Cops are getting paid leave for killing people. That's not right.
If you're not willing to give up what you enjoy for what's necessary, you're not going to get what you want. I have a problem with watching a brother stand up for me and then lose it all. If someone stands up for me and they lose it all, I cannot see supporting the person that took it from them.
There was a poll that was just released. White people like the organization more en masse from the polling, and black people less since the player protest. What does that say to you?
It has to do with the definition of what is American. To me, one of the most American things that you can do, the foundation of the country, it was a bunch of guys that felt like they weren't being represented, so they decided they're not going to pay their taxes. So when you see something going wrong with where you are, taking action against the injustice that you see is the most American thing that you can do. It tells me that version, that real, true definition of America, that a lot of people don't subscribe to it.
Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of off the field right now, out, he's fired.
Those people looked at that protest not as someone who wanted more inclusion, but as a threat to their version of America. It's sad that it seems to me that people are reveling in the fact that, for lack of a better word, a nigga got put in his place.
In looking, as we've talked about here, as the NFL is not just an organization, but an extension of the mindset of what's going on. Like, football fans aren't racist. People are racist, and football is just an extension of that racism. It's amplified.
It's interesting. I don't know what will make me watch again. I don't know. Colin Kaepernick still wants to play in the NFL. I think what I want to see the NFL do is what they never did, which was actually, in a real way, address the problem. Had the NFL ever said, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna do a little bit more outreach in these areas, and we're gonna use Kaepernick or Eric Reed or any of the guys to kind of spearhead that. And it wouldn't have taken a huge, gigantic chunk. What it would have taken is them listening and understanding that there's a problem that one of its premier athletes sees.
Someone like Kenny Stills, who is literally emboldening the message and encompassing everything that someone like Kaepernick wanted going forth, is that someone listens and addresses and finds a focal point of the problem and goes head on and tries to address it.
And by the way, Cap is pliable. He's movable. He's not he's not trying to burn the whole house down.
Sure,
He's just trying to make sure that people have a safe place to sit. And I'm just not for the silencing. I'm not for the marginalization. I'm not for just the ignoring of the problem, the colluding it makes them look evil. It makes them look like they are actually on the other side of this. And so we are where we are.
I'm Francis Maxwell,
I'm Van Lathan.
and I'm not watching the Super Bowl.
I'm not watching the Super Bowl.
Did you like this video? Then great. Never miss another breakdown video by hitting the subscribe button below and ring the bell to get notified whenever we publish a new video.